Good morning, McCurry County. This is Oren Jackson and Micah Frazier live on 259 Morning Show. We're so blessed to be here. It's Friday, finally Friday. We made it, everyone. And good morning, Micah.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Doing all right. It is finally Friday, May 22nd, Labor Day weekend. Oh, my bad. I was making sure our mics worked on on TikTok. We got a very special show today. I hope you enjoyed. If you tuned into the debate, the District 1 County Commissioner debate yesterday in Broken Bow, it was quite a sight. I was on there. I got to watch it. I watched out through our TikTok feed and got to interact with our fans and stuff on here and got to talk with them and stuff. And very entertaining, to say the least. It was kind of it was like a horse race, kind of, and it was like, well, I like this one. And they talked about it. And then it was like, well, now I kind of like it. Everybody. Yeah. And, a lot of them aren't from around here, but they're just like, just by going off of this, and y'all were numbered, basically. I was just like from left to right, 1 through, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have people like 1, 2, 4, all this stuff. So very interesting. And we have a very special guest today who was there yesterday. Oren Jackson, everybody. No, we got Crystal Joslin today running for District 1 County Commissioner, correct?
Yes, sir.
So if you have any questions, you can feel free. She's as far as I know, you're okay with if they want to call and ask questions. Please do keep it PG, as this is a family show, kids show still. You can give them a call 286-6642 here on 96.7 KBEL. Would you like to tell us a little bit about what you got going on and what your schedule looks like? And
our schedules are pretty full. So tonight there's a speaking at Garvin Community Center at 6 o'clock. On June 4th, there's an event with Broken Bow Chamber of Commerce. Mm-hmm. On Saturday, June 6th, I'll be at Eagletown and in the morning, and then in the afternoon, we'll be in Pickens. Pickens' volunteer fire department is doing a pie and cake fundraiser, and they've invited candidates up there. So there's a lot that's just kind of coming at us.
Yeah.
And we're trying to keep up with all the different events and the last minute ads. And we appreciate the opportunity. People are calling and emailing and asking questions. They're popping in on Facebook and asking questions. The debate last night, I think all 4 candidates did a good job, and we all have some similar goals. We may approach them a little bit differently, but we all 4 of the people that were there last night work really well together, and we've all talked about how we can move the county forward and clean up some issues and just be there for the people. And I think that's what our county is really asking for. When we have 6 candidates running for District 3 and 6 candidates running for District 1, that speaks volumes to us, right? That we have some changes that we need to make. And appreciate you being there last night, Warren.
Of course,
you did a great job on that, and live streaming on TikTok and on Facebook for y'all. And we posted that on our page with McCurtain County Government Transparency today too, just to make sure we could reach people. We understand that people can't always come to us, so we're trying to get messages out there across the board. And the 3 gentlemen that I debated with last night, I have high respect for all 3 of them. And so, that's one of those things that I think people lose in a political debate and the political arena, is that they think everybody's against each other, and we're really not. There are really good people who want to do really good things for this county. And my thing is, don't forget, today is your last day to register to vote if you're going to vote in the primaries. And those primaries are going to be all telling for District 3, because there's all Republicans. And then for District 1, you have an opportunity to pick a candidate who's going to run against Zeb in November. So District 1's going to go all the way to November.
Yeah.
So it's really important. Get out there, and whether you're voting for, I had a government teacher in high school, and he said, I don't always vote for somebody. Sometimes I vote against somebody. And I'm like, okay, well, if that's your philosophy and that's your strategy, go for it, but make your voice heard. However you're going to do it.
So it was, I'm talking in the chat and stuff last night, and had some people talking about, our elections, like they're at each other. It's it's an all out brawl and stuff. So it was good, it was good to see, the candidates, all respectful, all
Very much so.
And like you said, everybody has a similar goal.
We do.
Like everybody has a, it's not, well, they're doing it wrong or, whatever. It's more of, I have my ideas as well.
Right.
And, this is where I think I would work better. So, so what would you say to someone who is still undecided?
Well, I would first say make sure you're doing your research. Look to figure out what you think your issues are and see who you feel like is best qualified for that. And I said this last night, if you're worried about roads and you need to know that whoever the commissioner is can go out and run a road grader, that's not me. I don't know how to run that equipment. I mean, I took ag for 4 years and I could run a lot of equipment and do a lot of things, but a road grader is not something I've been trained in. You've got Clint Bray, who worked those road graders. You've got Zeb Sims, who is currently on a road grader, right? So you've got those two who can do that. If you're looking for somebody who's going to make sure that the budgets are taken care of and that we look very carefully across the board at everything that needs to be done, that's kind of my forte, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm the most current on all of the issues that are going on with the county commissioners because I've been attending those meetings for over 2 years and I've done deep dives in everything. That's what McCurtain County Government Transparency is all about, is getting into the issues and figuring out what our county needs and what we should do differently or how we can, what we're doing right and what we're doing that we need to adjust, and so if you're voting for personality, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. We know that, right? And I'm honest about that. Yeah. I'm just flat out honest about that. All 4 people who were sitting up there last night are devout Christians.
Yeah.
Every one of us. We all approach things differently, right? Clint's a pastor. Okay, I'm not a pastor. Zeb's not a pastor. And Jesse's not a pastor. But that doesn't mean that we're not all godly and we're not all working in the same direction. And we all believe that we each have different missions in life. Right. Yeah. And so that's one of the big things is that God doesn't build everybody the same. Yeah. But if you want somebody who's going to stand up for you, fight for themselves, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to stand up to the haters. And, I'm not we all, the 4 of us sitting up there, none of us are politicians. Yeah. And so we're all going to do things differently. That doesn't mean we can't accomplish everything that we need to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
It was, seeing the debate and stuff. It was interesting to see, like, if there were 4 positions open, y'all would be perfect for those 4 positions. Because it's like y'all all bring something to the table to get this one goal done. And so, unfortunately, there's only one position.
Right.
But, I did notice people were saying, you came prepared. It seemed like you were more prepared because you brought statistics, you brought pictures, you brought different stuff like that. So is that part of, going to the meetings and, like you said, all this, transparency and stuff, everything that has to do with the county commissioner where, what needs to be done, what they've been talking about. And
yeah. So there's twofold to that. One is that's part of how I'm built. Right. I'm not just a take you for your word kind of person. I trust until there's a reason not to trust. And that's one of the reasons why I have been attending meetings so much and that's throughout the county. I don't just go to the county commissioners meetings. I go to the jail trust, hospital authority, go to solid waste meetings when I can, but they're at the same time as the BOCC meetings. So it makes it hard to get to those. Water district meetings, Millerton the other day when they had their issue that popped up, because the more the better informed you are, the better your decision making can be, right? Yeah. So you don't just take people at their word. When I hear somebody say, oh, well, somebody said this, this, and this. Okay, where's the documentation that goes with that? Get into it, dig down deep into it. If I'm going to speak on a budget, and this comes from my background, right? If I'm going to speak on a budget, I need to know what that budget is. Yeah. So I sought out the budget to make sure I had some actual numbers Just like going to the jail trust meeting is where I got the numbers on what was going on and how we're operating upside down $25 a day for every state inmate that we have in our jail system here in McCurtain County, and how it's taxing on our system. EMS got numbers from them on what they're working on. So that's one of those things that I feel like it's important. You can't just look at it from one lens.
Yeah.
You really have to get this broad scope of it and then find the issue and dig deeper on it. Sometimes you find things that you like, and sometimes you find things that you're like, ooh, we might need to look at that timeline or that contract, or how are we spending that money? Because last night I brought up the concrete pathway, right? $6,000 to run approximately $6,000 to run a concrete pathway down the side of the courthouse. And when I walked by that, two issues that I saw. One is one of those drains coming off of the courthouse is draining right onto that sidewalk. Well, part of the reason that they needed that was so that people could walk down there without getting their feet soaking wet, and they would have a safe path. So that didn't get taken care of. And then there was another one that dropped right into the ground right next to that, and that water's just going to puddle and run over that sidewalk. But also, why couldn't we do that in-house? I mean, I poured concrete before, not going to do it right now, and I'm not going to do it for the county, right? But we have a ton of people who work for this county who have talents, and yet we're outsourcing.
Yeah.
And you can save a lot of money when you're doing things in-house.
So tell us a little bit more about what you see in the future if elected.
We are going to make sure that we are doing open meetings the proper way. We're going to make sure that the public has access to records, that they have access to their to the meetings, that they have access to us. Well, and I can only speak for me. I can't say that the other two commissioners are going to go out in the public and spend time out of the office and where the people are, but I will. I believe in being out and about, because just like I've run up and down those roads in my truck, right? Yeah. I believe that you don't know what it's like until you're out there running them. You cannot lead a county from sitting behind a desk, and operational hours of 7:30 to 4:30 or 5 o'clock Monday through Thursday. That's not operational for people who work, right? Yeah. Meetings at 9 o'clock, that may not change, but at least it'll be accessible.
Yeah.
And then I also see that we're going to make sure that we're looking at our timelines carefully and that we're making decisions. I said it last night and I say it every day. There should not be, and it's on the agenda again this coming Tuesday, because Monday's a holiday. The Hochtown Volunteer Fire Department's issues are still on the agenda 10 months later. Make a decision and then live with your decision, get your legal counsel and take care of it. But don't put safety and those things at risk. Safety first.
So for those who aren't aware of what's going on with that, what is the whole thing with that? Because, some people have followed. I really don't pay attention to anything up north with Hochtown and stuff. So as far as I'm really out of the loop of what's going on, what the problem is, and what they're debating on making a decision on.
Okay, so it's been going on for about 2 years, and the long and short of it is, when Hochtown became a town in 2022, one of their promises was that they were going to have fire and police services. What they didn't say was that was going to be in lieu of our volunteer fire department, or that they wanted to take over the volunteer fire department. So you can have two separate entities, and the volunteer fire department is funded just like the other 21 departments. They are funded from a sales tax that was passed in 2006, and each volunteer fire department gets an equal share of that after 5% is taken off the top for the county. Okay, so our volunteer fire department runs more calls than any other, or has been running more calls than any other, and running a close second, especially during holidays and summertime, to Ida Bell and Broken Bow, because of all the traffic, because of the wrecks, because of the issues out on the lake, because people get drunk and fall off of their cabin, cabin balconies, right? So our volunteer fire department is desperately needed. And there is no reason why we can't have two.
Yeah.
Because the town funds one, and the town Hochtown has approximately $500,000 a month coming in sales tax. So good, let's have that. I'm a Hochtown resident.
Mhm.
The more, the better.
Mm-hmm.
But this takeover and this hostility that's gone on, not allowing the two chiefs to work together to bring a resolution, and there was this. I said, somebody said this and somebody said that. I've been blamed for the shutdown. But yet I'm the one that's at that meeting every single week saying, give us back our fire department. So really it came down to ISO ratings, which are your insurance ratings.
Mm-hmm.
It's what determines your property insurance. And we had a chance to get a pumper tanker. We had a $25,000 grant that was awarded to our volunteer fire department. The commissioners boggled that over and over and over and over to the point where we lost the grant because we missed the timelines. Then we didn't get the pumper tanker. Then there were some moves made by the commissioners that started changing some things up to the point where the commissioners have currently given authorization to the city to use volunteer fire department equipment. And a commissioner went in and changed the locks on the building and took over, and they forget that that's private property too. So people think it's county property, but it's owned by a fire department association. It's private property. So there's a lot of legal things that have been twisted and turned and have not been negotiated properly. And whether it's now we're trying to save face or we don't know what to do next, it's got us in a pickle. It's Memorial Day weekend. There's a major motorcycle rally coming into town, and we have started summer season. And when we're talking about safety, we need to have all of our volunteer firefighters. We already talked about, last night we talked about how stretched EMS is, how stretched and taxed our systems are. And every one of the candidates last night said, we need our volunteer firefighters. We need all the help that we can get. And if there's a major catastrophe, we're in trouble. So we need to resolve some of these issues. And sometimes it's sit down at the table. And when you're talking about sitting down at the table, the one group that was never invited to the table with the county commissioners and Hochtown as a town was the volunteer fire department. You've got to include all parties in the decision making. And so that's kind of where that stands. And there's a lot more to it, but that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Okay. Well, we'll be back here on Live on 259 with Oren Jackson and Micah Frazier with special guest Crystal Joslin. If you have any questions, you can give us a call, 286-6642. We'll be right back. 96.7. Crystal is my fiance. Believe me, she does deep dives in her research before our first date. She did a full
Good morning, Shane.
Background check. And it took me 6 months after we started taking to get on her Facebook.
That is true. I will not let just anybody on my Facebook page.
Is that true?
That is true.
Is that your fiance?
That is my fiance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Shane is my fiance, and he is right.
Nice.
We were dating for 6 months before I let him on my Facebook. Like I need to really know and understand.
That's funny.
And we get Facebook like people just think that just because you're somewhere they can be your friend on your personal page. Mm-hmm. And I always send them a message saying thank you, but unless I actually know you, I have to cut that. I'm not one that I don't need to have 1,500 friends. I need to know that the people on there I can trust. Yeah. And I have to purge periodically.
I have so many people.
Gina,
friend jail for 10 years.
Someone on the chat said she may work people's nerves, but she knows her stuff.
That's true. That's true.
The thing I noticed last night, I was like, y'all might be in trouble. Because y'all might, because up until last night, there was no face or voice to put to the accusations and the, this and that. Right. But I was like, y'all might be in trouble because, she knows her stuff. That I got that. I was like, she's coming with receipts and
that is
stuff. So, you might not like.
That should be my tagline. Got the receipts.
Got the receipts.
Got the receipts.
You cannot like it, but she's the most, like I said, that's why I was like, she seems more prepared to do these speakings and answering questions and things rather than
Let's try this again.
some, let's say, that was just like, well, I agree with that, and kind of get tongue tied and stuff.
Well, when you're talking about issues, that's one thing. The 4 candidates up there, we have agreed that we're sticking to the issues, right? We're not attacking each other's backgrounds. We're not attacking each other's families. We're leaving all of that out of it.
Yeah.
Some others have not necessarily agreed to do that. And then there's public who definitely are not agreeing to that.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, if I know that if I won, I could call Jesse and Jesse would help me out. Yeah. Jesse would say, here's some things you need to know about sheriff or solid waste or whatever. I could call on Clint and he would do the same thing.
Welcome back to the show. This is Orrin Jackson and Micah Frazier live on 259 Morning Show. Good morning, Micah.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm doing better than I deserve, man.
Orrin Jackson here. We got Crystal Joslin in the house. If you have any questions, and this is a lot of the times that people, they'll share a Facebook post or they'll agree that oh well, I heard about her and all this stuff. This is the time that they should really speak. I mean, if they have questions or if they like I said, up until last night there was not a face or a voice to put to the Facebook post and all that stuff.
That's right.
And until I watched the debate last night. So I think a lot of people are like that. They get so used to just sharing posts and I heard about that name. I heard, and this is McCurtain County. I think everybody has gotten to the point where I heard about you.
Oh yeah,
like,
that's
what
the first.
You hear? Like I ain't did nothing.
That's the first thing I hear when somebody says, "What's your name?"
I did tell Mikey yesterday. I was like, Crystal Joslin doesn't have any signs, and everyone knows her name.
Yeah, like word of mouth. There's so many.
I did have some signs in Eagletown that got taken down. I'm sure y'all heard about
I bet,
that.
yeah.
I seen
that gave me more publicity too.
Yeah.
It's just word of mouth works. I don't think people understand that either. And after last night, I was like, and she's coming on the show tomorrow. Like that's even more getting out there. I'm sure in the 1940s and 1913 signs worked back in the day when we were on horse and buggy. But when you're going 65 miles per hour and on your, let's be honest, somebody's on their phone, just they're doing something else besides, they're not fully focused on the road or aware of. So I'm a believer of like signs aren't it anymore, especially in the tall grass. And then you got 5 of them. I can only read one as I'm passing by.
That's true.
And you're betting that I'm willing, and one's this big and yours is this big. Like, which one am I going to read?
My signs are like 12 by 18. They're not very big. They actually look like this, like they're just some plain red, white, blue, and a little bit of black on them. But what's important is that even what do they say in Hollywood? Even bad publicity is publicity.
That's right.
Right. And so, yes, my name is out there and it's been out there, but what's important is all 4 of the candidates last night, we're all self-funded. Not one of us has taken a donation from anybody. We've received offers for support.
Oh, wow.
But we are not, and which is why our campaigns are so low key and scaled back, because we're paying for everything 100% ourselves, because we all have a commitment to not be tied to anybody for anything, so that we can make decisions based on the actual issues and the information that we get.
Which is, I think, everybody in this county and probably in the state of Oklahoma liked about President Trump. You can think what you want with the gas prices and stuff, but that was the main thing in 2016 when he got elected, was he had his own money to where he didn't need millions and millions of dollars along his campaign to get tied back to this, to where where it's time where, well, remember when I helped you on your campaign? Remember I funded that barbecue or that speaking that you had? Remember that? Well, now I need you to do something for me once you get in the office. So I think that was the main thing. That's where it headed. I don't know where it's gone since, but that was the original idea, because everybody else, you look at Bernie Sanders, there's memes about him just like, I'm once again asking you for your tax deductible donations and stuff. And it's like, He has never won a presidential, vice presidential, or presidential campaign, yet he stays in that to where, I mean, he's got the funders to do it. So it makes it seem like, well, what are you going to do for them when they've been putting so much every 4 years?
And it's expensive to run a campaign.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give y'all an exclusive this morning.
All right.
Okay. So you're going to hear it here first. I am actually not going to accept a full salary. I want less than half of the salary that's being offered to the commissioners, because I have an income, right? Because I'm a retired educator from Texas. Everybody knows I'm from Texas. That's a big deal, right? But because I am not reliant on any income, then I can take that pay cut. I can take that. I'm dropping it down to where it's $15.50 an hour, which comes to approximately $32,000 a year. And the rest of that money I'm putting back into I've got to figure out the legalities of it. We'll have to work through that to make sure that it goes where it needs to go, but that I can put that back into the budget and handle something that needs to be handled, whether that's a couple more loads of rock or it's hiring a part-time somebody that can help us with whatever, but we need to be able to use that money. I don't need that money as income. There will be expenses that I have, and that money is going to help to offset that. But I want to make sure that if I can relieve some budget and put it back into our system, I'm going to do that. And nobody has heard that anywhere but right here first.
Yeah, that's interesting for sure.
Very interesting. Like the more and more, it's kind of hard. Like I said, if people have only seen your name on Facebook and the this and that, as far as somebody who really hasn't paid attention to anything really along the election, it's like, well, man, I mean, she's got everything. She's prepared. She's prepared to whatever you got to ask her. When it seems like some of the other candidates, they're just kind of, heck, I don't know. I didn't think I'd get this far. And it's just like, well, that's kind of not what I wanted to hear. Like, the whole transparency thing, people want answers, and not everybody's going to be, attending the meetings or even interested in the meetings.
That's right.
They only care about the roads.
Or they care about something that's directly related to their neighborhood.
Yes.
Right.
And that's it. Like you said, there's a whole spectrum of, that's just one piece of the pie when we have to think about everything in this county.
Yeah. You have a lot of haters on Facebook. Is it ever a problem like in public?
No, I've never had any. That's the thing, because you can post anonymously on Facebook and you can say anything you want to, and you can make any accusation. I dealt with one of those last night from a situation, and that's fine. I mean, that's how you can safeguard yourself, and you can be a keyboard warrior, and that's fine. I allow anonymous postings on my page. And the reason I do that is twofold. One is if you feel like you need to say something, but you're afraid that people are going to then attack you, then I want you to have a safe space, right? Even if you're attacking me, there's a limit though to what those attacks are. Like if you just keep bringing it and you're not bringing actual receipts, then, or you're doing a bunch of name calling, you're out, because there is a respect level there, right? You don't have to follow my page, but in public, not one person has ever come up to me and been in my face. Now, I have been at a county meeting where a fire chief from the city has been in my face, but that was his meeting and his domain. And, I think he felt like that was his safe space to say and do whatever he wanted to. And I just allowed him to do it. I'm not going to get into the back and forth with him. Yeah. He has his opinion. I have my opinion. He's operating on opinions and emotions, and I'm operating on facts and data and documentation. So, he's one of those who blame me for shutting down the fire department, which clearly I had no power in doing, right? I didn't vote for that. So not in public. Nobody has ever either been brazen or brave enough to do that because, I'm going to stand my ground.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it seems like, social media especially, it's just people need stuff to hate on or hate, you see it no matter what, musicians, you see their pages and it's like somebody's
Somebody's always going to be on the
always
negative.
saying something. So it's good because that you can just kind of let that roll off your back because you're getting in public office and stuff, and some people might not take criticism that well.
No,
in that
but
kind of
you know
position.
what? I was a teacher in Dallas ISD.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Dallas.
So I
Ooh.
came up through the ranks in Dallas ISD. I've been called everything under the sun. I've been threatened. I've been in active shooter situations. I've taken guns from children. Like, I've been in the mud with it. And so if that didn't faze me, this stuff is not going to faze me. And, the only thing that I think ever that phases anybody truly is when you attack somebody's children or you attack their family. And I am deeply protective of my family, which is why you don't see them at events. You don't hear about them because they're 100% supportive, but I need to protect them, which is also why I've shut down, like, you can't join my Facebook page. And there are people who've worked with me, who worked for me, with me, or been my supervisors who are deep supporters. And some even that posted this morning are like, did they not know you were a principal? Like, you've seen everything, done everything, and there's nothing that comes out that, because I'm widely open. If you know me, you know me. If you're a friend, you're a friend, and I'll go all the way wherever you are. That song, you know who your friends are, you know where your friends are. That song is deeply personal to us because my friendships with people are like that. Yeah. I will do whatever I need to do to support you.
So I got to know, if you were elected, what would be your first priority in office? Priorities.
First priority would, if I was elected in a clear margin in June where I knew I was going to be it, I would be digging deep into the records, figuring out the timelines, figuring out the contracts, seeing what needs to happen when we get there so that I could start getting those agendas together and get the documentation. We have some contracts that, from my research so far, we have not renewed that we should have renewed. Some contracts have to be renewed annually, and we're out of compliance with a lot of those. And then starting to get the priorities together and to meet with all the constituents, find out what their needs are and see how we can prioritize those, and digging into the budget. I've got good relationships with people like, Brad Box, and Bruce Short is in the assessor's office right now. I can go into those offices and I can get information and they'll help me to understand something I don't know. So there's going to be a lot of learning in there. If we get to August or we get to November, there's still some timelines in there. So whatever date that I find out that I'm either close to it or I'm in it, then I'm digging deeper into that research just to know, like, when I went from one school to the other and we went from, say, May to August, where you're going to be at your new school. I dug into that school. What do I need to know? Who are the people? What's the community like? Get out there and figure all that out so that you can kind of hit the ground running. And then also, before I'm actually sworn in, before it causes a quorum, I'm going to sit down with the other two candidates or the other two commissioners and figure out how we're going to work together, start building that relationship stronger. I mean, I can talk to Tina and I can talk to Robert. I don't know if Robert will be in there or not, but whoever replaces him, if he gets replaced, I want to sit down and talk to them so that we start out with some common ground and some rules of engagement, right? We need to be respectful, and they just need to know where I'm coming from. And I want to make sure that I know where they're coming from, building those relationships and then crossing those over to the cities too, because we serve a large area.
Yeah.
1,900 square miles. It's a big county.
Yeah.
Big county.
So for someone who is worried about, well, she's not even from here, because I've seen that. So God. Can you give us the rundown of, I know I've seen you say, your lineage goes all the way back to the 1800s, I want to say.
1890s, 1888s.
So give us a background on that for those listening.
Okay. So let me start with just my relationship with McCurtain County. Okay. My son was born in 1990. In 1991, we started coming and camping. But I had been here in 1988 with my senior class camping with our ag department. Okay, so we'd been down on the river, fell in love with it. 1991, I'm up here with my family, and almost every weekend, all summer long, trekking back and forth. We started out tent camping. We moved up to one of those pop-up tent campers, and then we moved up to a fifth wheel, and then finally, it's one of those. And I say this in reality, it's cheaper to keep her, right? Yeah. Buy a place here. Quit hauling stuff, quit storing stuff at the pack rat, like quit carrying stuff back and forth and set down some roots. Yeah. So bought our place in 2011 and had an old mobile home on it. Was 40 years old when we bought it. Stayed in it for eight or so years, did some remodeling to it, tore it down, built a home. This is where, when we bought that land, I said, they're going to carry me out of here feet first. Like, I'm going to be here until I die. Mm-hmm. My grandsons call it the big house and their happy place. It is the place where we can seek salvation. We own a couple of acres, mm-hmm. right smack dab in the middle of Ho Chi Town, long before it was the town, right? Yeah. And then you can go back to my great-great-grandfather actually died in Shinewell in 1927. So the Cerro Gordo community sits on the border, mm-hmm. right? It's partially McCurtain County and it's partially over the Arkansas border. There's a house that's right on that border. Part of that house is in Oklahoma and part of that house is in Arkansas. And the Kane family had a hotel and a store back in the 1800s, in the 1880s, 1890s. Mm-hmm. So when you say I'm from Texas, here's what's crazy. I can't choose where I'm born, yeah. right? I was actually born in California. I'm a Marine child, right? Oh, yeah. I was born in California because my dad was a Marine. My mom said she got me back to Texas just as quickly as she could in that little Volkswagen, right? But you're born and raised where you're born and raised, yeah. okay? And so I established roots, and I lived in Mesquite for 35 years and raised my children there, right? My grandchildren are living there too. But this is also their sanctuary. And so you can go back to where our family is from Arkansas and Tennessee, and they come in and they're in this area really before the split happens with the state line and with the county line. Yeah. And then the decision is, you know, the rumor in the home is that because there's a bedroom and the water well and those things are on the Oklahoma side, that some people decided in the family to be Oklahomans and some people decided to be Arkansas, yeah. you know, but our roots are firmly grounded. And my great grandfather and family members are buried at the Cerro Gordo Cemetery, which is on the Arkansas side. Yeah. But he died in McCurtain County, 1927. So it goes back to there. And somewhere along the line, you start to feel like there's something, but you don't necessarily know what it is. I thought it was all the nature. Yeah. And we laugh about this because in the Bible, there's so-and-so begat, so-and-so begat, so-and-so begat. My mom does genealogy, and she's begotten me all my life with all of our family. But she's like, you know, and she said this a while back. She's like, you know, and I said, no. I mean, I know, but no, I didn't know. And so I dug into it a lot more, and we recently went down to the cemetery to check some things out, and the homestead's still standing, and people still in the community remember it. It's near the Goodwill community, you know, so.
Is that over there by Curly's, the country store?
Yeah, there's that country store right there, right before you cross over the border.
The line, yeah. Is that where that's at?
Yeah, and there's that big yellow house. Yeah. Over on the side. That's it.
That's it. Okay,
that's the family homestead.
The only reason I know that is because I used to deliver bread around here, and I always had to go out to Curly's.
Yeah.
And I guess I was on autopilot. I fell asleep, honestly. Sorry, Idabel. Sorry, Redland and Cerro Gordo. But it's like 20 minutes to get out there.
Yeah, it's
and it was a rough road. I don't know what it's like now, but it was a rough road.
It's still a rough road.
And I just remember, like, I don't know if I was just in train of thought or something, but I just like, and I look, and there's the store, and I'm passing, and I cross into, I turn right by that house or whatever, but yeah.
Well, then there's this, and people aren't going to want to hear this because I haven't shared this. but we have family members who are from Eagletown too.
Oh man.
So we have Eagletown roots, and that's kind of what took us in some directions. But yeah.
Any last words you might want to say? Any dates and stuff you got coming up where you're going to be at speaking? Or
well, let's make sure everybody has June 4th on their calendar for Broken Bow,
Yeah.
June 6th at Eagletown in the morning, and at Pickens. Pickens is doing that fundraiser because they're trying to get their new fire department up and running. They've got some work that needs to be done. So Pickens VFD on that same afternoon. We're keeping dates posted on both Transparency, and that's for all candidates. Any candidates can send information. We're putting that up there. We do have a QR code. So if you have any questions, here's the big thing. If you have any questions, you can call me, email me, send me a message on Messenger. I am answering those as quickly as I can. We have a lot of information that we're putting out for everybody in the county, and I want to answer your questions. If you want me to come do a speaking or come sit with you and talk, we'll arrange to do that. Just reach out, because here, got nothing to hide. You know, we're all human. We've all made mistakes in our past. We all want, I can't say that there's a candidate that doesn't want what's best for this county.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to vote your conscience. I want you to vote what you feel like is best for you, your family, and the future of McCurtain County. Absolutely.
all right. Well, that was Crystal Joslin running for District 1 County Commissioner, and that is June 16th.
June 16th is the
It's the
primary.
primary.
Early voting is the 10th, 11th, and 12th. Got to be registered by today, 4 o'clock. You can register online, or you can go to the Idabel Election Board office next to the courthouse and register there. Only Republicans can vote in the primary because there's only Republicans in the primary. So the Republican voters who come out are going to decide who's either going to August for a runoff or is in it for the long haul and going against Zeb as an independent in November. So it's a really important vote. We need everybody to come out and vote, whichever way you want to vote. Just come out and vote.
Okay.
And
Well,
thank y'all for your time.
Oh, no problem.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming up here and giving us some exclusives. I enjoyed last night's debate and everything. Just putting faces to names and stuff. But Orrin Jackson did a great job.
Appreciate that.
Sure
He
did.
started like firing, just doubling up the questions.
Yeah.
Like they'd answer that and be like, well, what about that? And then,
He did.
and so, he did a great job. First time ever doing that,
Yeah.
right? So
I was nervous, and it was cold. It was freezing in there.
Okay, it was freezing to you, but the four of
Yeah.
us were sweating.
I figured
we were a
so.
little worried. Yeah, you did a great job.
Thank
We
you, thank you.
appreciate K-Bell. We appreciate KKBI, just making sure that all the candidates have a voice.
Yeah.
That's the big thing, because if you know more, you can do. If you know better, you can do better.
yes.
So thank you so much.
All right, no problem.
Thank you.
You.